Oh, welcome to the Practice Impossible podcast with your host, Coach JPMD, and we have a special guest today, Gautam Thakkar from Pinebrook Pharmacy.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And so, good to have you. And this is the beginning of the second season.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and we will have some nice talk.
Yeah, for sure. So pharmacies have been something that's been really difficult for me to understand. Although we prescribe prescriptions every day, I can honestly say I still don't understand the pharmacy network, how you guys get paid, how medicines actually get to your shelves. So I thought it'd be a great conversation to have with you as a local pharmacist in Spring Hill. And I think you only in Spring Hill, or do you have other locations as well?
No, we have 3 locations, 2 in Spring Hill, 1 in Brooksville.
Okay, cool. So tell me about yourself. Tell me about you.
So, my name is Gautam Thakkar, pharmacist, born and raised in India, came when I was 26. Any foreign student, they come in any medical professions, they have to go through so many, exams and residency hours or internship hours. So went through all those process, took me 3 years to get licensed. Worked for Walgreens for about 10, 11 years as a pharmacist. And then one day they were saying, the store I worked at, it was 24-hour store and I worked night shift. So I had 7 days on schedule, 7 days off. And my supervisor said, we're going to turn this store to non-24 hours. So I said, okay, no problem. But then what my options are? What do I do once you turn non-24 hours, where I would go? They say either you can go to Orlando. We have a mail order facility. I lived in Tampa. Going on I-4 every day, it wasn't possible. Then he said, go and move to Orlando. And we loved our neighborhood. The kids loved the school. So I said, I don't want to move to Orlando. Then we ended up they said that you can take the severance package. So company gave me severance package, took the money, and then I invested in my own business. Any business is very hard.
Sure.
If you look at the SBA, Small Business Administration's statistic, out of every 10 new business opens, out of 10, 8 closes down within a year.
Yeah.
And then the 2, out of those 2, 60% were closed down in the next 3 years. So they have very, the ratio is very, slim, that business will survive. But I would say if you just put everything into it, I had saved up so much money to start my own business. I had worked so much overtime at, chain store. And I say, if I don't succeed in this business, then I'm financially 10 years behind. All my work, being up all night long, is all gone. So I had to put everything in it and then, open up with 1 store. And then we grew from 1, 2, 3, and 4.
That's wonderful. Now, so you were a pharmacist in India?
I was pharmacist in India, but any medical professions you come to US, they don't validate your degree. You have to take so many exams, clinical exams, internship hours. So I finished and got licensed.
And you were married at the time, or did you get married here?
No, I was married. That's how I came here. My wife was here, so because we got married and then I came here.
Okay. And so how is it different in India versus here? I mean, you're a pharmacist in India. I know that, there are a lot of, they probably don't prescribe as many medications as they do in India as they do here, or am I wrong in that?
No, you're 100% right. People usually do the home remedies as much as possible. Even not just the medicine, but even seeing the dentist. I don't remember if I ever been to dentist unless I had a toothache or something, or they had to remove the tooth. But besides, I never been to the dentist. So they usually don't see unless you have a problem. And it's changing a little bit now. As far as the drug, they are all same. We don't have as many brand names because now they're changing. So, you don't have a patent. So everything is generic now.
Okay. So what would be the most common drugs that were prescribed in India compared to the US?
For any particular indications?
Well, in general, I'm sure antibiotic classes of medication would be.
Those are very popular because of not as hygiene in general, that people get a lot of infections. So antibiotic, I would say, would be the number 1 prescription drug that ever prescribed.
Okay.
Yeah. And then everything is same, like beta blockers and calcium channeler and statin drugs. And
yeah. So I used to love this show called How It's Made. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
No, I haven't.
It's a Science Channel show, How It's Made or How It Works. I think there are 2 different series. And so I went through medical school, and obviously we know how to prescribe drugs, but I have no idea how pharmacies work. So part of this episode is somewhat selfish. I'm trying to figure out how pharmacies work. I had a Money Tree series that I ran for managed care in season 1 that kind of detailed every aspect of the managed care cycle.
Right.
But pharmacy was one that I struggle with, try to understand. So can you explain, before we delve into how pharmacies work,
Right.
You're a small chain pharmacy.
Correct.
How does a small chain differ from a big chain? What are 3 things that make small chains better?
There are a few things. Customized service, personal services. So if you come to our pharmacy, we would know with your name what medications you take. We go above and beyond to take care of you. Give an example. Before I came here, I had a patient who called for one of the psychotic drug, and copay was, after deductible, it was $900.
The copay
was $900. It's a brand new medications, and patient couldn't afford it. So I said, let me see what I can do. I have a rep number, the medical rep for that brand. She told me what to do. I registered the patients. First 3 months would be paid by the manufacturer.
Okay.
So they would save that $900. So this is what we would do as an independent pharmacy, that you wouldn't see this kind of service at the chain store. We do free home deliveries. Now, many of the chain store has started at smaller scale that they would deliver to the patient's home. At my pharmacy, I'm 24/7 pharmacist for my patients. So any of my locations of any patients has any questions 2 a.m. and can't wait till the next day we open, they dial the pharmacy number, and they will give them option number 5 to leave the on-call pharmacist message. They leave the message, and my phone rings. I always say my phone is always with me. My wife may not be next to me some days, but my phone is always there, and I pick up and listen to message. And if there is a need, then I call them back. I also provide the home vaccinations for our patients.
Okay.
So then they're homebound. They can't go to the pharmacy or doctor's office for any kind of vaccine, COVID, flu, pneumonia, shingles. I go to their home at no extra cost if they're our patients.
So I have so many questions around that. So
Sure.
when did pharmacists become eligible or able to give injections? Because I don't remember that being something that they could do, let's say 20 years ago. Is that something?
True. I would guess about 15 to 17 years ago, they implemented that a pharmacist can do 3-day course, and they will learn to the CPR course.
Okay.
And I guess they go by the statistic that most of the people weren't able to get vaccinated because there wasn't enough doctors who would do the vaccine. So they said, okay, let's have another healthcare provider help with this.
Okay.
Same thing with the COVID. When the vaccine came out for COVID, there wasn't enough pharmacists to take care of all the populations. So they allowed a pharmacy technicians to do the vaccine. So now they can do it as well.
Okay. So that changed, but that changes to the board of pharmacy or through your education. Is it now that pharmacists have to go through training when they go to school in this country to be able to give vaccines or give shots or give therapeutics?
So when I was a pharmacist, it wasn't taught in the pharmacy school at that time. So it was something new that introduced the bill that a pharmacist can do the vaccination. So they had approved course for 3 days, and it includes the CPR training and everything. So once you finish that course, then, you are certified immunizer. But now they teach them in the school.
Mm-hmm. And so you do these services and you provide these services to your patients. Big chains can't do that or don't do it. I can't see how they have the manpower to do it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get reimbursed for this stuff?
For the vaccine part? Or?
For being able to deliver medications to the patients, being able on call, because you're gonna have to pay a pharmacist to take call, I'm sure. So how is the reimbursement model different in your business model versus a bigger chain?
So it works against us. We provide better, more services, and we get reimbursed less.
Huh.
And this is proven, like some of the time, a person goes to a bigger chain store and the PBM, because they own the PBM, excuse me, they own the PBM too. They will pay them their own pharmacy $3,000. And if the same patient come next month to my pharmacy, they will pay us $120. And this is proven, in many scenarios that because they, taking money from this pocket and putting in that pocket because they own the PBM, they own the pharmacist. So if you go to their own pharmacy, they will reimburse them more. which is not a fair practice, but this is the industry that you have to live in.
So you mentioned PBM, and I don't want to lose your train of thought. Can you define what PBM is for our listeners?
Pharmacy benefit managers.
Okay.
Right.
So you're saying the pharmacies also own the PBMs? Because I thought that was different entities that had one.
So they're different entities, but like I own pharmacy, I also own the infusion center, things like that. So there are pharmacy chain stores. They own their PBM too. Not all of them, but some of them.
So the pharmacy benefit managers work with the insurance companies to provide the prescription drug benefits?
Correct. So, health plan would contact one of the PBM and they negotiate what their management fee would be to provide this benefit to their members. And then they choose one of those PBM available in the market. And then they provide the pharmacy benefits. But in many cases, that pharmacy benefit manager has their own pharmacies, just like CVS, an example. CVS Caremark is a PBM, but they have a CVS, the retail pharmacy as well. So
they basically control the flow of all the monies.
Correct. Many instances, like I had a store in the Oak Hill Hospital in Hernando County, and we closed down about 8-10 months ago. And the reason being because we had a bedside delivery contract. So we would go to the patient's bed before they go home to see if they would like to get the prescriptions filled before they head home. That would know if all the drugs are covered or not, how much the copay would be. So they would like it, that service, and we would take it to their bed before they go.
Yeah.
Instead of stopping at the pharmacy and waiting 3 hours to get their prescriptions filled. Because of COVID changed things, and they say you couldn't go to the patients because it put them at a higher risk for infection. So we lost that business, so we had to close that store down. But the employees of the hospital, their PBM was CVS. I don't remember what, I think it was CVS, but they mandated them to go to the CVS pharmacy. So even though I'm right there, the patient comes every day to work, the employee of hospital, still they couldn't use us as a pharmacy provider. They had to use one of the chain store.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, especially with these big chains. So it kind of leads into the sheet I sent you, and we can go over that real quick, and not real quick because I found this report online. It's from the Drug Channel Institute, and they do research, I guess, on pharmacy benefit managers throughout the country. And so I'll put some links in the show notes about this or for this. But as you look through here, you talked about the pharmacy benefit manager that sits on the right side of the diagram.
Correct.
How is that related to the manufacturer? Like, does the manufacturer negotiate rates at the pharmacy benefit, or because there's so many arrows in this?
Right, going in and out.
In and out.
So what pharmacy benefit manager would do, so as a health plan, or if you're a big employer, you have thousands of employees, you would need to manage this pharmacy benefit. You would outsource to PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers. If you're big enough, you can tell them what formulary you would like to have, because you have such a big, life that you're managing. If you're a smaller group, then they would tell you, okay, these are the different formularies. And then those drugs will be covered. And, the copay might be different, tier A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3. So PBM would decide which drug would go on which tier, whether they would cover or not. In many instances, it is because how much rebate they get from the manufacturer. So an example, drug A, says the manufacturer comes to the PBM, so would you put our drug on your formulary? And they say, okay, how much rebate would you give us? They say, okay, every prescription.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you said the manufacturer. So you're talking, like, say,
Pfizer, Glaxo, AstraZeneca.
Those manufacturers will go to the PBM, or PBM will go to them to see.
Manufacturer would go to the PBM.
Manufacturer would go to the PBM to try to get their drug on the formulary.
Correct. For different, for statin, or as an example, cholesterol, there might be 10 different drugs. How they can get that drug onto the formulary so they would increase their sale. So PBM would say, okay, we can have your drug in our formulary, but you have to pay us $100 every prescription gets filled.
Even after the negotiated price?
Correct.
In addition to?
So an example, the drug.
Why is that not a kickback?
It is all legal, how they have big lawyers and they work it out, and it's not kickback.
Okay.
Right. So then it costs the increase the cost of the healthcare.
Of course.
So, if manufacturer has to pay $100, an example, it could be more or less to the PBM to have the drug on the formulary, then manufacturer has to increase the price.
Yes.
So that accounts for the cost of the drug. So many times people ask me, is drug cost that much money? Like an example, some of the drug for Hep C, and that 1 month supply is $30,000. 30 tablets is $30,000. So one pill is $1,000. And how could you justify that? But there is a lot of small things like that, comes in play, like, giving back to the PBM and things like that, that increase the cost. To make the drug, it's not as much money, but, the manufacturer says, oh, we have to put billions of dollars in research, and then we have to recover those money. And that's why they get the patent for a certain number of years. So that's one of the reasons that, price goes up.
Sure. And it seems like prices are going up every year. So
it does. An average, about 10% price would go up on brand medications every year. So some of the pharmacy who can afford to buy more 3 month supply of, their overage usage, they will buy, because in January, an average 10% it will go up.
And so that cost is passed on to not only the consumer, but also to the payer as well, right?
True.
Because the payer now has to spend more money for that same drug.
Correct.
And then that comes back to the people who are paying the insurance premiums.
True. The other cost, why so expensive, one of the reason is, as I shared with you about the manufacturer has to pay the PBM for having the drug on formulary. Also, there's a very common term called spread. I don't know if you have heard that term called spread.
Mm-hmm.
So an example, if you are an employer with thousands of employees, you give out to PBM A, to manage the benefit. And then your employee comes to my pharmacy to get prescription filled. According to negotiated pricing, the contract we have with the PBM, they will reimburse us, they reimburse $10.
Mm-hmm.
But that PBM going to invoice you for $20. Because that's called the spread. So they pay us $10 and they charge you $20. I had one of the friend, he had a pharmacy, small pharmacy like mine in Tampa. So he was filling the prescriptions and he was losing money. So his cost was $100 and he was getting reimbursed only $80. So to continue service, he told his customers, I'm going to fill this prescription this time, but I can't afford to lose every month to fill prescription and lose $20. This is an example I always give. If you say, Dr. Pierre, you would ask me, Gautam, would you give me a ride to my home? I said, okay, come on, Dr. Pierre, I'll give you a ride. Then I give you a ride, drop you off at the, your home. And then he said, Gautam, give me $25. I said, for what, Dr. Pierre? Because I let you, give me the ride. So same thing, with the PBM, you fill prescriptions, consult the patients, do all you need to do. And then you buying it for $100 and you're getting reimbursed $80. And every single day in my pharmacy, we have about 8 to 10 claims that we are reimbursed less than our cost.
And so is it that they know that this is happening and they don't care because they can go to a big chain pharmacy and they'll absorb those costs because they're selling other things in their pharmacy? Or is that? No.
So if the same patient goes to the bigger one, they will get more money, drastically more money, because they have a better negotiating power. Sometimes because they own both companies.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would go and say, oh, I have 7,000 stores nationwide. I have drive-thrus. We have 2,200 stores 24 hours. So we need more money because we have more
overhead.
So then they will pay them more. But small pharmacy like us, they just give us a contract. We don't have any option but to sign off on it.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
So do you do other things in the pharmacy, and as far as over-the-counter medications and other things to help cover those costs?
Correct. Yeah, we have some over-the-counter, some DME supply, wheelchair, walker kind of thing. Yep.
Okay. And what is a markup on that typically without?
Over-the-counter, I would say about 50% markup on over-the-counters.
Yeah.
And that one, we can decide the price. I can tell my supplier, put the sticker of $2 instead of, $1.50.
Okay.
They will put the sticker, whatever I say, and I can program in my POS. But prescription drugs, even though I say I want $100, PBM would say you would get only $75. You want to take it?
Yeah. So it's almost like gas stations.
Correct.
Gas stations, they don't make money on gas.
True.
They make money on the convenience stuff
Right.
inside, and so that's how they're able to stay in business. That's insane. So what about Good RX? Because I went to a pharmacy one time and I know know the cost of the drugs. I had filled it before. I gave them my card and they charged me $150. I'm like, what do you mean $150? I have the Good RX. Oh, yeah, we'll use the Good RX and we'll give it to you for $50. How can it be that it's that much different?
So you said $150. Was it with your insurance or cash?
It was with insurance.
Okay. So whatever insurance you have, they have a contract with the pharmacy that we will pay you for, say, drug A. Drug goes by the AWP, average wholesale price.
Okay.
So as an example, drug A has the average wholesale price of $100. So the pharmacy you went to has a contract with PBM that we will charge AWP plus certain percentage plus dispensing fee.
And that's what those things are up there, the dispensing fee,
Correct. So pharmacy usually get a small fraction of dispensing fee ranging from 20 cents to $1.50. That's a normal. They give us that money to cover the cost of our labeling vials and the ink and things like that. But the Good RX has a better negotiating power, and they have the AWP minus 20% plus 50 cents dispensing fee. So when you use your regular insurance, the contract they have with PBM was not as good as the Good RX has it.
But the Good RX is not a pharmacy.
It's not a pharmacy. It's not a what you call the PBM, but they just have negotiated contract that saying we're going to send you so many people and give you more business direct towards your business, but we need this pricing.
So when you dispense, as a pharmacist, you dispense a medication using the Good RX card, how does Good RX make money?
Before, when they came out brand new, they weren't charging the pharmacy any money fee or anything. They were just doing it because you're new, you want to give everything for free. Now they charge pharmacy fee. So when you come to me and you say Good RX and I bill the Good RX, all the drug goes by the AWP contract and say, you bill us according to AWP this much, but our price, negotiated price is this much. We're going to charge you $5, whatever fee you can say by referring patient to you or whatever they can. And then patient would pay $12. So they charge us now in a small fraction of fee ranging from $5 to $25 per prescriptions.
And that claim is processed electronically to Good RX?
Correct.
So it's you swipe, it's like a debit card, just swipe
No,
the
so
card?
in our pharmacy software, the claim goes through. Unlike your medical practice, you have to bill and then, we would know right away how much we're billing, how much the PBM would or Good RX would reimburse us, and how much the copay would be. It's all live. It goes and then comes back within seconds, and then we print the label, count the pill.
So when I guess I'm still a little confused. So when you're collecting that money from the patient, so
Right.
I come and I pay you $50 with my Good RX card.
Right.
You then take part of that $50 to pay the Good RX?
So I would have to pay Good RX $5, $10 fees.
Really?
Yep. They would send me the invoice and then I would have to pay them that, fee.
Okay.
Correct. Also, that's a very fraction of money that they make. How they make most money is the data. So they sell the data.
Okay.
So they probably wouldn't sell the HIPAA data, like your name or anything. But there are many companies in the industry, they would collect they buy the data and they pay them millions of dollars to get this data. Send Dr. Pierre, what his prescribing habit? Oh, he prescribed this drug. It's an example. If you have Pfizer, an example like Viagra, right? So if you prescribe too many Viagra, then the company would get this data. Dr. Pierre has prescribed this many, and then they would sell to Lilly for their Cialis. So now Lilly's rep would come to you, Dr. Pierre, this drug, it lasts for 36 hours, this less side effect. So our company would pay for this data, all the manufacturing company, to know what doctor prescribes.
And we have no idea. Physicians have no clue as to what's going on. I mean, even the consumer doesn't know.
Right.
That's insane. I had no idea because a couple of years ago, actually about 10, 15 years ago, I don't know if I told you this, but I had a dispensary in my office. Florida was one of the few states that actually allowed us to have be a dispensing physician.
Right.
Where we dispense medications to our patients. Right. And I just did it just to understand the industry. And so what we would do is we would purchase prepackaged drugs from this company named Physician Choice Services. I think they went out of business. Some company. They sent us a bulks of all these medications. I was buying furosemide for 80 cents for a 90-day supply, $1.
Right.
But then the copays to the patients were $15.
Right.
That is insane. I mean,
It is.
Is that how much the markups are? Because if I'm buying it for 80 cents,
Right.
CVS is buying it for 20 cents.
Correct. So if for an example, for furosemide, if I buy 500 count bottle, probably would cost me about $25 for 500 tablets.
Wow.
But even though if I sell it for $100, I wouldn't sell 500 to one patient. But then what the expense adds to the cost is, the overheads for the pharmacy, the pharmacies, insurance, every time we send the claim, sometime insurance company would charge us 25 cents fee. When you send the electronic prescription to us, the company charges 25 cents fee to receiving the prescription. So there are so many, costs involved in it. And that, so I can, even if I buy drug for 50 cents, even if I make 100% profit and sell it for $1, I can be in business because the minimum expense to fill the prescription, and average, they say industry standard is $10 cost to the pharmacy to fill the prescription, not counting the drug or anything.
Okay, so
just the labor.
The administrative costs.
Correct.
Per prescription.
Per prescription is about $10. That includes, the overheads and label while.
Yeah, and so our overhead was lower because we actually use our own staff because we didn't need a pharmacy tech.
Correct.
We were
and
able
you don't know the pharmacies. You don't need the pharmacies either, and that's a big expense.
Yeah. So the expenses were lower, so we can actually transmit that cost to our patients.
But other disadvantage to what then, it opens up for because you have a pharmacy license. Probably the board inspector came,
Well, they didn't because we decided not to prescribe narcotics. So we didn't prescribe narcotics or controlled substances.
Okay.
So it was, and I think we did get inspected. I have to.
They would normally do because now we have a pharmacy, even though you're not doing control, to make sure that you are comply with. You don't have any expired drugs.
Yes,
You have minimum requirement of labeling and things like that. So sometimes it may not be worth it.
No, it became not worth it because what happened, we did hire someone, a medical assistant that was actually a pharmacy tech to do it, but then they left. Right. So then now we're in the business of trying to find a pharmacy tech to fill the position for something that we weren't necessarily making any money on.
Correct.
It was more of a service to patients. Because,
help the patient, right?
Yeah, if a patient comes in with bronchitis and we wanted amoxicillin, that was an easy fill.
Correct.
So that's why we did it. So it was very interesting back in the days. So alternative medicine, do you have any experience in your pharmacy with alternative medicine or prescribing things that are not necessarily pharmaceuticals or natural medicines?
We don't do as much of, like allopathy mainly we do it. Personally, I don't like to take any medications. Yeah. And sometimes I always joke with the family, the medications are for sale, not for consumption. It's for other people, not for you. But if somebody comes, I usually advise them. If someone is on borderline blood pressure or sugar or, I always say lose some weight, do some light exercise. Yeah. That would definitely help you. There are some doctors, each doctor has different habits. So I have seen one doctor, when he prescribes prescriptions, I would see at least 5 to 7 drugs on same prescription because it's just habit of prescription.
Really?
Yeah. Some doctor would just say, no, try this. They won't prescribe antibiotic. It doesn't look like it's just a viral, so we don't need it. It would go away. But patient doesn't like that answer.
Yeah.
So sometimes, my doctor is not good. So now some doctor would prescribe the medication because otherwise the patient wouldn't think he didn't give anything.
Yep. I hear that. I see that a lot. And it's a mindset. I think more physicians who have time to sit down with the patients to educate them and teach them that they don't have to necessarily take medications. They can, their bodies can usually heal themselves. And so that's what I'm doing in season 2 and helping physicians to practice medicine the way they want to practice medicine. And some physicians are moving towards alternative ways of practicing, concierge practices, doing things like weight loss and what I'm finding is that it's bringing physicians to a happier state. And because when they are free of the corporate medicine, they're free of having to be forced to prescribe certain things like statin drugs, for patients who may have a normal cholesterol. So yes, one of our HEDIS measures is you have to prescribe a cholesterol medication for a diabetic who may have controlled diabetes and have a normal cholesterol. I'm not sure if the studies show that actually increases longevity, but that's what the HEDIS tells us.
They're right.
So how would you support a physician, an independent physician who's looking to help their patients?
And when you brought up the HEDIS measure, and we always market our pharmacy, how we can help the doctor to meet their HEDIS measures. One of them is to compliance.
Mm-hmm.
So, patients are not compliant, you get dinged, we get dinged as well as a pharmacy. They charge us the fees. If our patient,
what fees? What do you think?
So an example, if patients taking statin drugs, blood pressure, or diabetes medications, if they get filled 30-day supply on 1st of the month and they don't come back for a refill 5th of the next month, we get penalized. They charge us huge amount of fees, and it could be thousands of dollars at the end of the year.
So it's back. So you're saying on the managed care side, or
on the managed care?
On the managed care. Okay, so you're basically on the hook for
any Medicare patients, yeah.
Yeah, on the ACO patients or
right.
the Medicare patients.
So KBM would charge us the fee. So it is in our interest to make sure that we fill all the prescription on timely fashion. If patient is not able to come and pick it up, we offer them the delivery. So we do everything possible so they get the prescription filled on time.
Yeah. So how do you feel about patients who actually don't want to take up drugs and you're still getting dinged on that?
So we will try. As an example you brought up about the statin drug.
Yeah.
That's our measure too. So if I don't fill, even though I cannot prescribe it, if I could prescribe it, I'll say, okay, I'll prescribe you statin drug because you're diabetic. But we cannot prescribe it. We have to send the facts to the doctor. Sure. According to American Diabetic Association, you should prescribe statin drug. Doctors might say yes or no. If they say no, we can prescribe it, we can fill it, we still get dinged.
Yeah, which I think is crazy. That's crazy.
Right. And it's not right. As you mentioned, patients shouldn't be on it. They're, under control, everything. Why just put extra drug if they don't need it?
I'm still trying to figure that one out, but I think I know. Maybe we'll talk about it this time. We'll save it for another episode.
So Edward, you're coming back to the concierge service.
Yeah.
I love that idea, and that's where the future is going.
I think so.
I see so many doctors I know personally, they're going towards that route. They have 24/7 access to their physician. They have kind of family relationship. They know them well. And then just unlike you have to prescribe your patient statin, even though it's in not their interest, you don't agree with it, but you still, otherwise you will get dinged. So you can get out of all those scenarios. You feel passion for that you're helping somebody get healthier. So I think this is the future. I would probably, have doctor at the service, I would pay for it, even though I may have insurance, but I will have access to somebody that I can call and ask opinion. That doctor would give me opinion, not because the insurance company or CMS or somebody wants them to prescribe this one. They would, okay. Same thing when somebody asked me, oh, Gautam, what would you recommend? I say, you want as a patient or as a friend? So if a friend, I would say this. If he is a professional, that's the same thing with, when you ask a doctor, now you have to have a statin drug. Otherwise, you would get dinged and all that thing.
Yeah.
It will save them money. Same thing, I'm working with some of the bigger employers. Some doctor provide concierge service to the big employer. They have their site in their manufacturing unit. So I went to them and I asked to see their the bill for how much they pay for the prescriptions. Not HIPAA information, but just the drug and then quantity. And I saw so much opportunity. I said, you paying, $1,200 for this drug, I can give you for $800. This drug I can give you for that much. And it was thousands of dollars of savings because now there is no middleman.
Yeah.
No spread, because then there's so many factors was done out of, the scenario. And employers say, yes, we would be interested in working directly with you. With CMS or managed care or Medicare patients become challenging because they want to see this getting prescription filled every month and want the report back. Then you have to go through that PBM circle.
Yeah.
And the cost would go up.
I look at it as a circle of control.
Correct.
I mean, it's controlling all aspects of medicine. And what I've realized and what I've done the research on is that we do all these things to control medicine, control pharmacies, control PBMs, but yet we're not getting the outcomes.
True.
When you look at life expectancy in the U.S., we rank 46 in the world. 2022, 46 in the world.
Even though we have the best, medication, best technology, healthcare. Yeah.
So we are not doing things as good as, let's say, Japan,
Right,
or Sweden,
right.
or France. They rank more than I said, and you can do the research. I did a whole podcast on that, and I'll link that in the show notes. But I think we're just spending too much money in that control aspect, and money corrupts. And I think that's what it boils down to. So how can I know I opened a dispensary, but then when I try to look at how we can open up a pharmacy to help patients, one of the things that I found out was that we physicians can't open pharmacies open to the public. Is that still true?
That's true, but there are some if recently, I think it's this year, some of the ACO, because they have the risk, ACO is all the risk management, and they asked CMS to give them an authority to open the pharmacy. So I think this year, if you have ACOs, ACO can open their own pharmacy. And they made the exception, I think, is this year.
So but are they able to service the community or only their ACO?
Only their own patients.
Yeah. So it becomes like a dispensary.
Right.
A dispensary for their patients. Okay. One of the things that happened around COVID, and I'm not going to delve too deep into this, but might be able to do that in another episode. But I was told by a pharmacist, a big chain pharmacist, that they were not allowed to prescribe certain drugs because the pharmacy board told them not to prescribe it. Does the pharmacy board tell you guys that they can or can't prescribe drugs?
So I don't think so. The pharmacy board came to us and then they would say, no, you can't have, unless it's a control and something unethical, inappropriate. Board has given a pharmacist the authority to deny any prescriptions.
So it does give that.
We have authority. So if you prescribe something that I don't think is in, is ethical or is in interest of the patients for whatever reason. So I feel uncomfortable filling it, so I can deny it and nobody can question me. But my colleague, he or she says, oh, I don't have any problem filling this prescription. So other pharmacists can fill it under that person's in their own name and check and everything.
So could that pharmacist be at jeopardy of losing their job if they prescribe things?
No.
Because it's up to their judgment, personal judgment.
Correct, personal judgment. That I don't see anything wrong in it.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, ivermectin prescription during the COVID, it was helping many people. There were some pharmacies I know, online pharmacy, they were filling thousands of prescriptions for ivermectin, and people were, doctors were ordering it, they were filling it, people were paying for it.
Yeah.
And somebody believed that it would work, but it is not officially FDA, approved indication for it.
Sure.
So then pharmacists might say, oh, something happens. Sometimes they would put very high dosage, and it says it's for the horse, it's for the animal.
Oh, yeah, but that was horse doo-doo.
Right.
Because a lot of that was untrue. Because I prescribed it to many of my patients, and I know
it worked, right?
And it worked. And
so what happens when you prescribe it, and if I fail it, something goes wrong with the patient, then somebody might question me. So why didn't you question that this is not right dosage? It is not approved for this indications. Or somebody do the lawsuit, pharmacists fill that, this high dosage. So to protect themselves,
Yeah, but I think they were also looking at other media outlets to discredit it because they weren't that much different from the dosages given to patients with parasitic disease in Africa.
Sure.
And in Africa, it's prescribed almost like water to prevent river blindness.
When there are not as many lawsuits in Africa.
That's true too. But it did win the Nobel Prize in Medicine for that. So anyway, that's a whole other topic. Probably save that for another podcast episode. So what's the one thing you could tell a physician that they should do in their practice in order to succeed? So I try to help physicians understand what they can do. And from your perspective as a pharmacist, you see and hear, talk to a lot of doctors' offices. So what's the one thing you could tell a doctor as a young physician that they could do in their practice to succeed?
So, I'm a pharmacist. I'm an entrepreneur and opened up my own pharmacy in Group 1 to 4. Recently opened up the infusion center now where we do all the biologics, IV antibiotics in Brooksville too. Yeah, we opened up about 3 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you. And after I left Walgreens Pharmacy, many of my friends, they came to me because they were tired of, chain, environment, a lot of stress. Yes, I want to open up my own pharmacy too. And I was already in the business. They asked for my advice. And they would come to my pharmacy and I would tell them what license you would need, where to go, where to apply, distributor, where to get cheaper drugs, how to do marketing, get more business. But every single person that I gave advice, and I would probably do the same advice to any physicians or any entrepreneur, I would say in that matter. I said, before I'm a businessman, I'm a human. I had a lady when I opened the store. She lived 15 miles away from my store and she was getting Lasix or furosemide. And literally I was making 20 cents on her prescription, not counting my overheads. Mm-hmm. And I still delivered to her because that's the right thing to do. A 90-year-old lady can't get to the pharmacy to pick up the script. It's my moral and responsibility to take care of her. I kept that motto and I told all of my friends who came to me for advice, I said, do it, but always, at least for first year, do it that you're doing for charity. You are not doing this business for making money. I have this motto after 15 years and I'll continue because that's my passion. You have to have a passion of what you do. Then you can do it longer durations. If you do it because you have to, then you will get burned out within a year, 2 or 3. So just have a passion of what you do and taking care of your patients, whatever way you could, that's where I would say, that's success.
Sage advice. Sage advice. Thank you for that. I think someone out there needed to hear that because we've got a lot of crazy things going on in this world. And if you're passionate about taking care of patients, do it. Do it because it's your passion. Trim. Last episode, or one of the episodes before this one, I gave Dr. Singh actually 10 rapid fire questions. I don't know if you saw them, but
no, I have
one-liners or one word answers for 10 questions, and we didn't rehearse this. So are you ready for my rapid fire?
We will try.
All right. What's your favorite sports team?
Well, I was born in India, so I don't follow much sports here. So I play cricket.
Okay.
So of course, India. Cricket team, yeah.
Favorite food?
Indian food.
Which Indian food?
Which Indian food? We have so many states, and then each is different. The food from every state to state is different. So I would say Punjabi food that you normally find in your restaurant. That's my favorite. Paneer, I would say. Paneer, yeah.
Okay. What do you want to do when you retire?
I don't think so. I will retire because I enjoy so much everything I do. So my son, he's going to go in a pharmacy, become a pharmacy graduate in the next few years, and he will probably take over business. But I don't think so because I enjoy so much. So I don't know what I will do when I retire. I love people. I need people to talk to and help people. If you ask me one thing, Dr. Pierre, what makes me happy? Helping people makes me happy. So I would probably continue because that's my retirement. I'm retired right now.
That's cool. What did your mother want you to do when you grew up?
Just happy person.
Yeah. You want to be a doctor or a lawyer?
No, I wanted to become a forest officer where you take care of or protect the animal in the forest because, there were a lot of poaching. They kill all those animals.
Okay.
But then it just ended up becoming a pharmacist. So
it's going to get a little harder. Maybe the one thing that your wife wishes that she can change in you.
Spend more time at home.
Okay. Name one thing that you had, one thing that your lead pharmacist did not know about you or does not know about you.
If I say no, then she would know.
I know.
I don't know, Dr. Pierre, what would say, because I usually share all my story, personal. So I don't think there is anything that my staff doesn't know, or if they don't know, but then it's not that important that they don't know. Yeah.
Okay. You wiggle your way out of that question. That's okay. Last book that you read?
I don't like to read. I always do the audiobooks.
Okay, so that's audiobook.
Audiobook. And I have an app. It's a 12-minute app. So they would give you the essence of that book in 12 minutes. So I have listened to every single day, going back and from work.
What is it called?
Let me see which one was the last one, because I do like 4 or 5 books every day.
Okay.
So I have to think which one was the last one.
Is it like a series?
So they give you a series of like 7-day challenge. So one day they would say how to become a good leader. The next book would be about the time punctuality or managing the time.
Okay.
Managing the family, how do we, the good habits of, I forgot the author, but habits of successful people.
7 Habits of
Seven habits, yes. Correct.
Right. Stephen Covey.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So favorite vacation spot?
Belize.
Belize.
Yeah.
I want to go to Belize. Favorite physician in Spring Hill?
Oh man, I don't want to make hundreds of physicians upset. Let me see. I would say, the most I hear, favorite to me would be favorite to my patients.
Yes.
So the most people have said good things about the physicians. It was about Dr. Corpolo.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, kudos to Dr. Corpolo. He made it on the podcast, Back to the Possible podcast. Well, thank you to Gautam Thakkar for coming on the Track to the Puzzle podcast. We really enjoyed you, and I've enjoyed the knowledge you've given me about pharmacy and the just in general, your knowledge on the.
And if you get any questions on your postcard, then please forward to me, and
Sure. So, how can we find you?
You can email me on my email. It's my first name spelled Gautam @pinebrookpharmacy.com. And I will gladly reply any questions you may have, and any stories or more tips about how to be a successful entrepreneur in general, not to medicine, and I'll give you what I have done in my practice.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.